All right, y'all. So today I want to quickly give you my thoughts and kind of review on a recent Marvel project that just came out, Eyes of Wakanda, which is kind of like an animated anthology limited series that focuses basically the premise is it focuses on this group called the War Dogs, which are basically agents sent out from Wakanda to recover lost Wakandan artifacts and to kind of keep their technology secret from the world and all that. And that's basically the basic premise and like what the idea of this show is. Also, to kind of clarify, unlike a lot of Marvel animation projects, this one is actually considered part of the MCU's sacred timeline, so it is canon to the events of the MCU. I wouldn't say like it drastically affects anything, just because everything that takes place in this show takes place like far in the past before like a lot of the modern day events happens in the movies. So it's not necessarily a huge deal, but just wanted to kind of point that out there. So, like I said, this is a very short, limited anthology series. Like, it only has 4 episodes, 30 minutes in length each one, and they just kind of randomly dropped it on August 1st, with really not a lot of promotion. And it just, like I said, there wasn't really a lot of talk or intrigue about this. I heard for a while they were doing like a Black Panther related animated project, and this is basically what it became. So like I said, finally sat down, I watched it, and here's my quick thoughts on it. Overall, I think it's pretty solid. I didn't walk out thinking that this show was like as bad as like maybe something like Ironheart, which that show was pretty bad. But it's not like obviously as good as things like Thunderbolts or Fantastic Four was, or hell, even Brave New World, to be honest. It's kind of in the middle. It's just kind of like a filler kind of series. I don't know. It didn't really leave me with too much feeling behind it. I mean, I think it was a little bit cool to watch it just because you do get to learn a little bit more about the history of Wakanda and how they're able to maintain their society as such a secret for a long time. That's pretty cool stuff, and obviously explores an area of the MCU that's like never touched, which obviously like this takes place way before the movies, so I doubt anything that happens in this show will get mentioned in the movies. But who knows, maybe there'll be a sly reference here and there. That being said, I think the animation, first off, just to kind of go with the pros, the animation's really good. It's kind of like, it's not like What If, it's kind of like this very African art-inspired look to the show, which makes sense since, Wakanda and all that. But I really like the look of it. I think it looks nice, it looks distinct, it looks interesting. All the designs for the weapons and how characters look, I thought looked for the most part pretty good. Sometimes like I got little like Pixar vibes from like I think like the first lady that we watched in the first episode. I feel like they, like I said, probably should have tweaked her design a little bit, but overall, I thought the animation was pretty good. I liked the art style. I liked most of the character designs and weapons and world. It all looked very nice and well done. The voice acting as well, I can't tell you off the top of my head who are some of the people playing the characters, but they all do, like, all that voice actors in this show do good jobs. They do a good job in their respective roles, and they all sell me on their characters and the world itself, so that's another pro. And the writing itself can be hit and miss sometimes, but it's also pretty solid. I would say the best episode of probably the third episode and maybe the fourth or second one. Those are the ones that I like the most. The third episode is basically involving this guy who steals like a dragon, Chinese inspired artifact that was stolen from Wakanda. And he's a very funny, witty character who accidentally got himself kind of involved with a character who she turned out to be Iron Fist in this show. Yep, Iron Fist appears in this show. And it's pretty awesome. They have like a really cool fight, but they eventually make amends sort of in the show. I thought his character was the most intriguing. I was like, damn, I would really like to see more of his character in like maybe his own standalone series. But I really liked him. I think the second episode was pretty solid with the whole betrayal and stuff with Achilles. The fourth one gets a bit kooky. That episode, the final episode, kind of ties everything together. Sort of, because by this point, all these episodes had nothing to do with each other. They're all just standalone episodes, kind of like Clone Wars. But it gets a little bit kooky. Like, they introduce time travel and, like, alternate universes where it's, like, if like this prince of Wakanda, so to speak, or one of the princes of Wakanda doesn't do this certain thing, doesn't steal this artifact or whatever, then a certain future where Wakanda gets destroyed or doesn't want to help the world doesn't happen. It feels like something straight out of Terminator. That's where I feel like the show was like, that's like, it gets a bit kooky and a bit sci-fi, especially with like everything that's already been established in the previous episodes. It wasn't a bad episode. I liked it, but it just, like I said, felt a little bit strange watching it. In terms of my cons, some of the witty dialogue, it's kind of like that MCU witty dialogue. It sometimes ruins some of the emotional moments. It's here and there. I wish there was less of that. And I think in general, just better storytelling overall. And this should have been a way longer series. Like, it's only 4 episodes long, and I think it needed to be at least 13. Just being honest. I think it should have been a 13 limited series. Give people enough time to fully get into the series, show more agents or war dogs of Wakanda, and also have more ties back to the MCU. Or at least something more like a overarching connection instead of a very loose one that we kind of saw at the 4th episode, right? I mean, I don't know. I feel like one of the big problems with this series, there needs to be more of a loose connection and just more episodes in general. I think would have hugely benefited the series because it's not that bad. Like, honestly, it's pretty solid. Just needed a bit more connection and just a lot more episodes. I'm not really sure if they're going to do like a season 2 of this or they're going to make more episodes because this series just kind of came and went, to be honest. So like I said, that's just kind of some of my cons off the top of my head. Overall, it's a pretty decent series. Nothing crazy, but nothing too bad. Just kind of like a pretty decent MCU animated project. Alright, y'all, so just kind of want to give you my quick thoughts on the show. Hopefully you all have a nice day. Peace.